Last week, the Charlotte Roval saw history being written, as for the very first time since Season 2 of 2019, David Gaspers finished the race outside the top 3. A streak worth of 23 races. The guy to take the vacant top spot was nobody less than championship second-place driver Daniel Sadro, who claimed crucial points with only a 33rd position for Gaspers. This week, drivers have to think outside the oval as we head to Northern California and with that to the Sonoma Raceway. So join us as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Weekend Warriors live on the Global Sim Racing Channel via iRacing Esports Network. The crew to give you all these stats and storylines today will be Ryan Walker, joining myself, Stefan Schlacher. Turning the knobs and pushing the buttons behind the scenes is our director Joe Peak, and he's using cameras provided by the great Doug Beer. Outside of the IndyCar and NASCAR scene, the Sonoma Raceway is not very well known. So let's change that and get accustomed to this roller coaster with a lap around in our GSRC lap guide.
Welcome to Sonoma Raceway. One of California's most famous road courses, it resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you?
Joe Peak on double duties today, doing the lap guide and controlling the cameras provided by Doug Beer. Ryan, also you have a little bit of a double duty. First off, it's the track details.
Yeah, some details about this fantastic track. It's famous for hosting some real-life series such as NASCAR, the Pirelli World Challenge, American Le Mans Series, and a range of other series as well. But 2.53 miles in length for 4.07 kilometers. Has 12 turns and is located in Sonoma, close to California.
Now, Ryan, as always, the Weekend Warriors is brought to you and our fans by Sim Stickers. Whether it's for button boxes, steering wheels, or keyboards, they've most definitely got you covered. And if you use the promo code GSRC10 when purchasing, you get 10% off of all orders during this whole season. You can obviously find out more over at simstickers.co.uk. And as already mentioned, with David Gaspers only taking away 30 points in the last race at the Charlotte Roval and ending his very impressive 6 victories this season thus far, he has lost a few points there to Daniel Sadro, who is 45 points behind in second place. Jason Perry, third place, already quite some ways back, as you can see there in third place. Antonio Rees, fourth place for him. Very tight between those two for that third place. And then in fifth place, that's the Frenchman of Fred Desai sitting there quite securely in behind. Now, Ryan, I think for Spec 2 it's quite a bit closer than we have for the Spec 1 Championship.
Yeah, the Spec 2 Championship's been really close this season, or for most of this season so far. It's been led by Larry McLeod, 257 points, but 1 point behind him is PJ Gowdy, who took a terrific top 10 result last week at Charlotte. Dominic Bureau rounds out the top 3 and keeping up his consistent season. J. Wayne Smith in 4th place and Yuri Cox in 5th place are starting to drop back, so it looks like it could be a 3-horse race for the championship.
A 3-horse race for the championship. But let's dive a little bit back and look at the race details here for today. As always, they are racing for 40 minutes around Sonoma here. They have one spare car as always, so if they run into troubles, they do have their T car standing by in the pit lane. They have to have at least one pit stop because the fuel cell is restricted, and as always, first gets 100 points and then all the rest of the points is rationed out. So you don't get a disadvantage if there's more drivers racing or not. In the background, the qualifying already going on, and we can say, Ryan, that David is in 1st place, but it's strangely enough not David Gaspers, it's David Garrido Sanchez.
A bit surprised by that. David Garrido Sanchez, we all recognise him from racing in the Weekend Warriors League, but he's normally more accustomed to racing in the midfield, but it's good to see him up there. Also, Miroslav Jurasek in 2nd, and the surprise of qualifying for me, Steph, is Ian Haycox in 3rd place.
Yeah, Ian Haycox showing quite a few times already that he is capable of great qualifying laps and great race performances, but not always being able to translate that into a good finish. Maybe it finally happens here for the number 35. And speaking about 30, let's go to 32nd place, and everybody quick, get your screenshots ready, because that's the only time you're gonna see the number 1 sitting with a time in dead last.
Yeah, we all know how quick David Gaspers is, and yeah, he always seems to. I don't know if he just messes around in qualifying and doesn't set a time, but yeah, he'll be up there in the race, no doubt about it.
As always, you can see the great David Gaspers and everyone else of the Weekend Warriors on the iRacing eSports network. Make sure to like and especially subscribe if you haven't done so yet. You'll know if you haven't, as the button right below this broadcast will still be very much bright red. So today we have about 34 cars that have signed up for this session. I see everybody in right now, so maybe we actually also see 34 cars take to the green flag. Right now, still your 1st place driver is Garrido Sanchez with a 46.212. Miroslav Juracek 2nd place for him with a 46.282, so only 7/100th of a second between 1st and 2nd.
Indeed, there's just looking throughout the field as well to see if anything else is going on, if there's any other surprises, but it looks like the same people in the same positions or usual positions just about. So also it looks like you've got a new member in the league this evening as well. I just spotted a familiar face from the official series. That is Maurizio Naselli,
sitting in 4th place with his number 44. So all 4s around for him. It is going to be interesting what he can translate his official pace into the Weekend Wars. Weekend Wars always a little bit different, I would say, from the spec race for official races, because first of all, races are longer, and you have that pit stop that you're not allowed to forget about.
Also, with the pit stops as well, it does bring a little bit of strategy into it. With the pit stops as well, you can do, as I like to call it, the Stevie Ray pit stop, where you can you pit as soon as the pit window opens. So I think some drivers might try that strategy, but also we know that the guys that are normally at the front like to try and go as long as possible.
1st place in qualifying in terms of the Spec 2 class right now goes to Larry McAloud, the number 233 machine, sitting in 7th place, about 5 positions ahead of his main rival of PJ Gaudi, the 777. 3/10 are separating those two, so only 3/10 separating 7th to 12th place. Now, if you're wondering, Spec 2, how is there anything that I can identify them with? Yes, there is, because Spec 1, that's every number below the 200 mark, and Spec 2 200 and above, so Larry McLeod 233, that's your Spec 2 class. Dominic Bureau to right now round out that podium is third place in the Spec 2 class. He's sitting in 14th place with a 47.225, and he's also pretty much the last car that is roughly within a second of David Garrido Sanchez.
Yeah, also of Sonoma as well. I've from the race I done during the week. It's
sorry, Ryan. I just spotted David Gaspers just casually putting in a lap time 3 times faster than anyone else. So, yeah, pretty much scratch that with Dominic Bureau being the last car within a second of your current leader.
yeah, David Gaspers deciding to be a little bit sneaky and qualify up at the front and trying to make us not notice him on the broadcast, but he failed on that front. But what he hasn't failed at is sticking on pole position as like he likes to do. So yeah, David still being quick as always.
However, as I'm looking at him right now going through the carousel, quite tricky there for him. Had about 4 slides that he had to catch, and looking at the qualifying times that he has put in thus far, only 4 of them have counted for him, and all of those 4 laps are 3 of those 4 laps are out laps. So David Gaspers, the first lap that counted for him, that wasn't an out lap, it was pole, but very little consistency in his qualifying, not something we know from David Gaspers.
It seems to be, yeah, David Gaspers. He seems to, I don't know, qualifying. He doesn't seem to be very consistent. But come the race time, his head seems to be in gear, and he's more consistent. As I just watched David Gaspers crash into the pit wall on the entry.
Yeah, David, he went off track there in turn 11, and then decided to go into pit lane, and a little bit hard, I would say. Unlike David Gaspers, now obviously, as already mentioned, that 33rd place in the Charlotte Roval. It's very interesting because also that last time he didn't finish inside the top 3 when he attended a race. That also was a race at the Charlotte Roval back then, the very old one. So it is rather interesting with David Gaspers and the Charlotte Roval because it isn't really a love relationship there between those two.
David was just unlucky at Charlotte. He was in a commanding position in the lead, and unfortunately he just got caught up with a back marker that it was spun in front of him, I believe, and towards the end of the race, and he just had nowhere to go. But on the other hand, it gave us an awesome battle for the win, which was unfortunately decided by the stewards after the race.
Yeah, you're saying it there, Ryan. I mean, Charlotte always produces great racing, but sometimes the stewards have to step in there and, you know, let those guys simmer down a little bit, if you want to call it like that. As once again, we still have only about a minute left, a minute and 15 in this qualifying, which means that everybody that is now crossing the start finish line is on their last lap. And still we have David Gaspers in first place, 3 times ahead of Garrido Sanchez, whose first lap, I believe, no, it's actually his 6th lap, is still the fastest one that he has put in.
As I'm just checking the field as well, or further back in the field, yeah, it's good to see. I believe he missed last week, but I could be wrong. But it's good to see Stevie Ray back. If that was the case, good to see him back in the field. Currently in P13, and yeah, he's always been in and out there and thereabouts, Stevie.
If we continue like this, we will have the David row as our first one, with both David Gaspers and David Garrido Sanchez in first and second. Miroslav Jurček still 3rd place, Ian Haycox 4th, Maurizio Naselli 5th place, Michael Shaw still sitting in 6th place, but that might all change in just a heartbeat depending on how things are going. Larry McLeod, your leader of the Spec 2 class right now, qualifying as the checkered flag drops. He is sitting in 8th place, about a second behind David Gaspers.
As yeah, I like what you call the front row at the moment, Steph. The David row. I'll keep that in my mind for quite some time as Mr. Gaspers has a wee spin.
So no faster lap for David Gaspers with that. Let's actually see who is going to be the first one to cross the start-finish line. It is going to be Maurizio Naselli sitting in 5th place with his number 44 Spec Racer Ford. Coming through the last turn and number 12. The flag is dropping for him, and it's a 46.856, so no fast lap time for him. Michael Shaw, though, he does also not put in a fast lap time because that was an outlap that he decided to enter. And let's see who else is crossing the start-finish line. Bob Kern doesn't produce a fast lap time, and the next car to cross the start-finish line will be Brad Speidel.
I believe if this is where he qualifies, this will be Michael Shaw's best qualifying result of the season in P6 at the moment. So it's good to see Michael up there in the top 10, and hopefully he can carry that into the race.
A lot of people either deciding to go into the pit lane for another pit lane entry, or they decide to end the lap and not really able to produce any faster lap times. I wonder if that has something to do with the track getting a tiny bit hotter, as also Fred Desai crosses the start-finish line and misses out on his fastest lap by about a tenth.
As we're just coming to the closing stages of qualifying, and it looks like most of the positions are just about locked in, so this is
well, yeah, I think Bob Kern has already crossed the start-finish line, and I don't think he will be able to put in another lap if he would want to do so. So let's run you down the starting order for today. As pretty much expected, David Gaspers once again first place for him with a 45.94.7. The only driver to put in a qualifying lap that is faster than a 1:46. David Garrido Sanchez, the David row is being completed by him. It's 2nd place. Miroslav Jurček, 3rd place for him. Ian Haycock starts in 4th place. Maurizio Naselli, his first appearance in this series, immediately puts it inside the top 5. Michael Shaw, the number 55, starting in 6th place, with Michael Dobek in 7th. Larry McLeod will start in 8th place. Steve Nelson in 9th. And Gary McCreevy will round out the top 10 here today.
starting in 11th place is Amo Orza. Alongside him in 12th is Tim Van Dormelen. Steve Ray starts in 13th. Alongside him is Ed Dorhick in P14. Bob Cairn starts in P15. TJ Gowdy in 16th. Alongside him in 17th is Fred Desai. Dominic Bureau in 18th. And alongside him is Kurt Nunez in 19th. And rounding out the top 20 is Brian D. Short.
21st goes to Samuel Dick, the 119 machine. Tom Gradwell, the 299, 22nd for him. Jeff Jacobs in 23rd. Pascal Montmorency in 24th. Paul Jackson in 25th. Donald Fitterer only at 26th position for him. That's not very likely of him. Benjamin Shoko in 27th. Jim McGill in 28th. Miro Rashki, I haven't seen that name in a very long time, in 29th. Ian Wilson 30th, Brad Speidel 31st, Jeff Cantor, the last car to put in a qualifying time, in 32nd, Jay William Smith in 33rd, and Kelly Rhodes completes your 34 driver lineup here today. All 34 cars, Ryan, have lined up.
Yeah, it's good to see all the cars on the grid. It's a fantastic turnout for today. It's not been like a super high turnout like we've had in previous rounds so far this season, but 34 cars, still a good turnout, and I think it's going to be around Sonoma. It's going to be an absolutely fantastic race.
Yeah, I think something the lower numbers of this race have a little bit to do with Sonoma. It's not very well known. It's not a much driven track on iRacing, and I feel like a lot of people are seeing this track as a little bit of a downer in their racing careers.
Yep, I think it's going to be a great race, and also Sonoma, it can throw up some surprises, especially through the the middle and the last sector with the twisty section. If you take too much of the curbs through that part of the track, then with the Spec Racer 4 being set up really stiff, it's you're going to be a passenger most of the time, and you'll end up spinning or hitting the wall.
One thing I wish though of this track is that iRacing would have scanned this track in either May or April, because then it would be very much green and not this brown gooey grass that we have on iRacing that everyone knows. Always looks a little bit weird when IndyCar comes to test here and everything is white.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think we'll have a green track here today for long anyway. I think we'll see loads of a nice racing line being laid down.
Yeah, we can already see quite heavily the racing line being put in with rubber. Most definitely will help these guys, especially through this very, very tricky 11th turn that they are now going through. Oh, sorry, actually it's turn 10, because that last little left-hand kink is actually also counted as a turn, as it should be, I would say. The pace car is going to pull off now into the pit lane, giving up the command of the race to David Gaspers. He has the wider line through this hairpin and already decides to go with that. The racing is green. David Garrido Sanchez not able to jump on that. Miroslav Juricek, quite a late start for him. Ian Haycock's even more so, losing out quite some time already up to the top 3. Nearly gets challenged by Maurizio Naselli into turn 1. How are we looking through turn 2? Everything single file for the top 10. And I don't see anyone spinning out so far.
I can't see anything either. It looks like everyone's managed to make it through the first couple of corners without any issues. Yeah, David Sanchez and Ian Haycock, like you mentioned, Steph, were just caught sleeping at the start.
Not very much sleeping. Thankfully, they have woken up though now already. So Miroslav Juricek is right on the back of the David Garrido Sanchez, who has already caught up back again to David Gaspers. In first place, Ian Haycock with a spin into carousel, hard into the wall, flips his car twice around. He lands on the left side, able to roll it back to the tires, but that is most definitely his dreams and hopes of a top finish already down the drain.
Yep, that was unfortunate for Ian. He just lost it, and he was a passenger. But yeah, as we focus back up at the front, it's still Gaspers leading from Sanchez, from Juricek, from up in P4 now as Naselli. So yeah, drivers starting to lose their heads already in this part of the race.
I just saw Ian Haycock try to do a little bit of a cheeky way back to the pit lanes with going down the drag strip, and actually got a DQ because of that, because he went for too long down the wrong side of the road. So with that, Ian Haycock's most definitely out of this race already. And what this has done to the top 5 is actually it split up Naselli quite a bit from Juricek. And I wonder if Naselli will be able to close up that gap again to Juricek.
Naselli's he's a pretty decent driver from my times watching him in the official races in the Spec Racer 4. He's a decent driver. As Sanchez has got a run on Gaspers, and he tries to go for a look up then.
This might help Naselli now. They are side by side, still going there through turn 7 side by side. Let's see David Gaspers with the inside now for the next turn. Actually, sorry, this is turn 6 now. Getting a little bit ahead of myself there with the turn names. David Garrido Sanchez, though, has lost out once again on that battle. But once again, he gets a good run on the slipstream with David Gaspers ahead of him. Goes out to the right side. Brakes not later than the German, but he's able to hold the inside line very nicely. Can he get also very nicely on the throttle? Yes, he can. But once again, momentum shifts to David Gaspers, and he retains his first place.
I have to be honest, I'm quite surprised that Gaspers is not pulling away. Normally at the start of races, he's pulling away and building up a bit of a gap, but today he's not getting it all his own way at the moment, and Mr. Sanchez is putting him under pressure. But behind these two guys is Juricek and Naselli, and also not far behind is Michael Shaw.
Yeah, this has really helped out Naselli and Shaw to get back up to those guys ahead of them. And one thing, it kind of looks like, even though I didn't really expect it, it has a little bit of a draft track characteristics, Sonoma, for these guys, because we're still having those top 5, top 7 nearly even quite nicely bunched together as Sanchez tried to be a little bit cheeky through turn 1 over on the inside, but probably got that door shot very hard by Gasper's ahead of him.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm not sure you would be able to make a move there, but fair play to Mr. Sanchez for trying. But Sanchez scrapping away with Gaspers is allowing this pack behind to slowly bunch up.
Going through the carousel once again, P3 is starting to get a little bit contested, with Juracek having a small mistake through turn 4. So Naselli much on the back of him, with Michael Shaw on the back of him. But everyone decides to stay behind each other and save a little bit of fuel, as Juracek once again goes a little bit sideways on the throttle, a little bit too eager with that one through the hairpin, which is kind of like a double apex hairpin at best.
Indeed, as Juracek has got a pack building up behind him, which includes Naselli, Shaw, Dobek, and not far behind either is Steve Elson. So it's this pack is starting to slowly but surely build up.
Juracek was a little bit under pressure there from Naselli, but Naselli wasn't able to brake later than Juracek, but he gets a good run out of the turn. But on the upshift into the next gear, he did lose out quite a bit there on Juracek, as they have once again finished lap. That was already lap 3 of this race finished.
Indeed, as I believe we might have had issues for Jeff Cantor possibly. I tried to have a look in my replay, but it won't go as far back, unfortunately.
Dahlbeck had a few problems there through turn 3. It was a little bit sideways because of the curb, but all good for him. Didn't lose the car nor too much momentum, as Michael Shaw is still in 5th place ahead of him, with Naselli looking to the inside of Juracek. Juracek low closes the door, and once again Naselli has to line up behind him. Let's see if something happens into this hairpin. If not, I think we have a replay of what happened there to Ian Haycox on his adventure into the barrier at turn 5. So going to the replay there for that, you're gonna see that Ian Haycox has a little bit of a self spin and then just tumbles himself into the barrier twice over, and then very slowly rests once again on his tires. And then, as already mentioned, Ian Haycox sadly decided that he wanted to go down the wrong way of the drag strip and forgot that that is considered for iRacing part of the racetrack, and with that he went the wrong way and got black flagged because of that.
Yeah, that was unfortunate for Ian, but I guess yeah, there was talk in the SRF Discord about a drag strip competitions at some time, so maybe he fancied getting a head start and getting some practice.
Now, a little bit of an interesting development there for the Davids, because David Garrido Sanchez has lost out to David Gaspers ahead of him. He is now about 1.5 seconds behind David Gaspers. So Gaspers starting to build himself a little bit of a cushion over Sanchez and the rest of the pack.
As I believe the leader of the S2 class at the moment is Larry McLeod. So good to see Larry having a good run up there overall in 8th place.
As our league organizer appeared to have some problems, we're gonna go on to replay there with that. The number 11 of Stevie Ray, that was out of turn 3A. Just going a little bit too wide and then finding himself not in the barrier actually. That was very close for Stevie Ray on that spin. Lost a lot of positions though. Go ahead.
I was just about to say it's an easy place to lose at that corner, but yeah, it looks like we've got issues for the number 18 car, what says Kurt Nunes.
And that is a rather weird problem for him because he just continued to turn right and nearly went into drag strip and then realized his mistake and completely jumped that inside curb there. Yeah, Kurt most definitely trying out that Sonoma rallycross, but with the wrong layout. So, Kurt Nunes, that's not how you go around the Sonoma rallycross track, but now, because of that, Kurt is finding himself in 30th, starting that lap in 16th. Seems like he has some damage from that jump, so he's going into the pit lane to get himself a new car on Ryan. I don't know. I don't think that he is yet in the pit window.
Absolutely not. I don't think he's anywhere near the pit window at the moment. So I think the best he can do is just excuse me, pit for a new car and then keep going as long as possible. And you'll need to make another pit stop.
Well, I'm gonna lean out the window there a little bit and say he's not in the pit window yet, because Stevie Ray hasn't pitted. And if you are a little bit accustomed to the Weekend Warriors here on the iRacing Esports Network, then you know that Stevie Ray is one of the earliest pitters in this series. Always pretty much pitting on the first or second possible lap that he can to get to the finish. Right now sitting himself in 20th with a nice overtake around the inside of Pascal Montmorency.
As we've still got the battle going on for P4 at the moment, or P4 or P3 basically. So with Jurasek, Naselli and Shaw, and right behind Shaw was Michael Dobek, but he's fallen back a little bit.
One thing I'm quite honestly surprised about is that Larry McLeod is actually quite nicely able to keep up with the guys ahead of him, and he is actually starting to reel in Steve Elson there for that 7th position, and that would be quite I think it actually would be the first time where we would see a Spec 2 driver finish inside the top 6. Sorry, top 7.
Absolutely. I think the closest we've had to a top 7 was PJ Gowdy last week at Charlotte, finishing in the, I can't remember what the position exactly, but he finished inside the top 10, which was a good result for him. And I'm trying to find out where PJ is as well. Oh, Pete, there's a battle for P3 going on at the moment.
Yeah, that is Mauricio Naselli trying to do it around the inside of the carousel, but he doesn't have a very good run. Michael Shaw had an extremely good run out of that, but he decided to leave those two ahead of him alone, as now Jurček has the inside through the hairpin, and because of that, able to keep his 3rd place away from Maurizio Naselli. But that battle obviously did split them up quite nicely from the top 2. That means now that the gap has risen up to about 2 seconds between 2nd and 3rd.
Absolutely. As this battle for P3 is still going on at the moment as they come up to the final corner, and I thought Naselli had a run on Jurasek as Michael Shaw dives into the pit.
Michael Shaw most definitely decides that pit window is open, thus the 5th place driver drops into to get his scheduled pit stop done and dusted. Obviously no tires are expected to be taken because the tires are actually separated and very, very slow to change.
Also, I'm watching as well, it looks like Steven Elson has dived into the pits as well, so I'm keeping an eye on Shaw to see what his pit stop time is.
Interestingly, Stevie Ray stays out, so these guys most definitely are on the first possible moment to go into pit lane. Michael Shaw once again out, his stop time at 10.5 versus 11.1 for Steve Nelson.
I'm just thinking as well if Shaw is trying to do the undercut on Jurasek, Naselli and Dobek, because it looked like a last second decision.
Oh, speaking about Jurček and Naselli, Jurček just made a big mistake out of the carousel with that, lose their position to Naselli, maybe even to Dobek. He has the inside though for that hairpin. Dobek on the outside. Dobek not able to keep up the momentum, or actually he is, with Jurček making a mistake on the inside, and thus Dobek finally gets past.
As I'm just waiting for a replay to come up to see what happened and see how Jurček lost that position. Oh, he ran wide in the gravel.
Yeah, as I said, goes into the dirt there. So he is not able to retain that third position. Now finds himself in fifth. Actually now misses the hairpin very badly. So he is losing even more time now to the two guys that just passed him.
Yeah, Jaroslav, he just looks a bit. I don't know. He just seems to have lost his focus a little bit and just becoming a little bit ragged. So yeah, he's starting to fall back from Dobek as well. So might have lost his focus a little bit.
One thing I am a little bit surprised about is that Miroslav didn't decide to go immediately into pit lane and cover off against Michael Shaw, who is now staying in 23rd, obviously the leader of all the guys that have pitted. Stevie Ray and Bob Kern are now also in pit lane, so those guys are gonna get cycled back quite a bit because of that.
Absolutely. As back up at the front, it's still David Gaspers leading by about 1.3 seconds, so he's maintaining that gap to David Gerardo Sanchez.
One battle I just wanted to speak about is the battle that we're gonna go to now. It's Ed Doherty versus Emil Orsa for that 7th place. They are trying to chase down Larry McLeod, and it seems like Emil Orsa is feeling that he's being held up by Ed Doherty ahead of him, because he already tried to have a few looks to the inside, but never succeeded in sticking his nose in.
Just watching Orza at the moment. Yeah, I agree with you. It looks like Orza might be quicker than Doherty at the moment. So. But it just seems to be you can't find anywhere to make a move, and around Sonoma, especially that middle sector, it's so difficult to try and get by someone.
And behind them we have another battle, by the way, the battle for the last two positions inside the top 10. That's Tim van Dornemalen and Fred Desai for 9th and 10th place respectively. So two battles at the back end of the top 10s, trying to cycle out those positions. Also, it appears... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It appears that we have lost Ian Wilson just about now. So something happened to poor Ian going through the pit lane. Just decided to stop his car and pull out the server.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Ian, but I'm just having a look at Michael Shaw as well. But I'm not sure if that was a good decision by Shaw thinking about it, because he's stuck behind several cars, or a bunch of cars anyway. So, or no, not a bunch of cars. My mistake. But I'm not sure if I would have done that. I would have maybe tried to go as long as maybe longer.
Yeah, he is right now sat behind Brad Spittle, who is in 18th position, the Spec 2 driver. And most definitely Michael Shaw is losing time because of that. His last lap was a 47.9 versus a 46.9, so full second faster than him, and as Spidle right ahead of him spun there. You were able to see it live on your screens as I was looking onto the timing screen. Yeah, I mean, at least he's now free, but most definitely Shaw lost about 2, maybe even 3 seconds behind Spittle in that fight for the top 3.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but it's one of those things. Sometimes you have to take the risk and see if it pays off, but I don't think it'll work out for Shaw at this stage, unfortunately I should say. But still, I'm just looking at the battle for what was P3 but now P4. Dobek, Jurasek, and by the looks of it, Dobek and Jurasek at the moment.
Yeah, Dobek is starting to lose the rear of Maselli a little bit now that Maselli is free. He seems to be able to go a bit of a quicker pace than Dobek and Juracek, or at least than Dobek. Don't know about Juracek right now, who is most definitely stalking the rear of that number 42 machine. Maybe looks to the right side now for the hairpin. Yes, he tries, but Dobek much later on the brakes. Thus, he is able to keep him away from 4th place for right now. Juracek does get a better run through the hairpin, but not out of it, so Dobek continues to stay in 4th place.
It's been a great run by Dobek so far. He also had a great race at Charlotte last week, and he's came on leaps and bounds. He's improved massively, and he's been rewarded for that with another good run in this race at the moment. And if he holds on in this race, he could possibly finish in the top 10 yet again.
Miroslav Juracek, a very interesting person inside the Weekend Warriors, never really able to live up to his name and be able to consistently put in very good performances. Always has that 1 or 2 downers in his season campaign, and thus never really able to show the top 2, top 3 performances that he is most definitely able to put in. As in behind Fred Desai from 11th place decided to pit, finds his pit stall, also took his spare car as he quickly repaired some damage. Let's actually see where Michael Shaw is. Michael Shaw actually already passed him now going under the bridge for turn 1, so Michael Shaw now up to 14th place.
Yeah, that was a long pit stop for Fred Desai. I don't know if he might have got a speeding penalty or if he just took too much fuel, but yeah, that's cost him at least 2 seconds in that pit stop. So I don't know what's went wrong, but I'm guessing that my guess anyway, it could be taking maybe a little bit too much fuel.
Yeah, most definitely too much fuel. 14 seconds was his pit stop versus the 10.5 for Michael Shaw, who, by the way, still has the fastest pit stop of everyone that has pitted. So, yeah, very interesting. The second fastest pit stop actually belongs to Stephen Elson right behind him, 11.1 seconds for him.
As this battle for P7 is still going on between Doherty and Orza, and I wonder if any of these two will pit. They go round yet again, but right in front of them, by the looks of it, that looks like they're closing down Larry McLeod.
Closing down the Spec 2 class leader, just ahead of them in 6th place, 47.1 for Larry McLeod versus a, let's see, 47.101 for Edward Doherty. So Ed Doherty was able to close down Larry McLeod by 4 1,000ths of a second.
Indeed, as I'm just looking at the positions in the Spec 2 class as well at the moment. The top 3 as it stands is McLeod, Dominic Bureau, and rounding out the top 3 in the Spec 2 class is Tom Gradwell. So it's good to see those guys running close to the top 10 or inside the top 10. So good run for those guys.
Yeah, 1st and 2nd place, Larry McLeod and Dominic Bureau are inside the top 10, with Dominic Bureau bringing up the rear of the top 10. Tom Gradwell, though, he is in 11th place, but that is about 5 seconds behind Dominic Bureau, so not really in any challenging position for that 10th spot as of right now. Actually, let's run you down the top 5 of the Spec 2 class. Pascal Montmorency is in 4th place for your Spec 2 class, sitting in 13th, having gained himself 11 positions from the start. And 5th place in the Spec 2 class goes to Kellen Rhodes in 16th place. And I think that he might actually be right now our hard charger of the race, because he started in 34th position. Given he did put in a qualifying lap though. So as our dear friend Soup San would say, he is not our real hard charger. As David Garrido Sanchez continues to drive by, we have David Gaspers in the pit lane to take his scheduled pit stop. Joining him is also Miroslav Juracek, Larry McLeod, and nobody else inside the top 10 decides to join them.
Yeah,
Gaspers off already.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was about to say Gaspers was off and away, and that was a very, very quick stop from him.
Let's actually see Miroslav Juracek. He is now in 12th position versus 8th place of David Gaspers. But where is Michael Shaw? And look at that! Just behind him. So Michael Shaw, the strategy did bite him a little bit because he was stuck behind Spittle for a little bit, but he didn't lose out too much. Makes you wonder how much he would have been able to gain without that slower car ahead of him.
Yeah, in hindsight, I don't think he's lost too much. He might have lost maybe a second or two being stuck in traffic, but actually, I think that call from Shaw might not have been a bad thing. He's starting to gain positions back quicker than expected, and just he's behind Miroslav as well. So, on thinking about it, that's not a bad call from Mr. Shaw. As Miss Vaselli has dived into the pits from second place, so he should come back out round about maybe P5, P6.
Most definitely will be close between himself and Miroslav Juracek, as also he's being joined by Edward Doherty, who is pitting from 5th place. Michael Shaw still very interestingly has the fastest pit stop with a 10.5. Second place, though, is now being shared by Juracek and Stephen Elson with that 11.1. Is Maurizio Naselli most definitely very much missed his pit stall. That was a very long time for him to realize that he missed the pit stall. Was about 3 seconds until he managed to find the reverse gear. So that is his hopes and dreams crushed for a top 5 finish.
Yep, that's unfortunate for Maurizio. That was a disaster of a stop, but that's allowed the likes of Shaw to come by and gain positions and loads of time on him.
And with an extremely bad stop, Larry McLeod did actually lose the position to Edward Doherty. Larry McLeod with a 16.4 versus a 13.1 of Edward Doherty. 3 seconds in between those two. So, Edward Doherty goes wide out of turn 3, able to keep together though on the grass and rejoins the track perfectly onto the apex of turn 4.
Yeah, that was a nice save from Ed. He managed to he held that very well, but that might have woken him up a little bit. But right behind him is Mr. McLeod, and Larry can't afford to do anything stupid. He's got to think of the Spec 2 Championship as Doherty runs wide in the gravel yet again.
Yeah, not the very best outlap for Edward Doherty right now. The Scotsman sitting in 12th place. Right now we're still waiting for a few drivers to make their pit stops. And speaking about that, David Garrido Sanchez and Michael Dopak pit from 1st and 2nd place. Obviously not expecting them to jump David Gaspers in the pit lane, but you never know what happens as Emil Orsa now takes over the lead, as David Garrido Sanchez also misses his pit stall.
Yeah, that's everyone seems to be missing their pit boxes today. I don't know what it is, as the Spec 2 leader Dominic Bureau dives into the pits as well.
Tom Gradwell decides to stay out, as obviously David Gaspers with that takes the lead. Now David Garrido Sanchez versus Tom Gradwell. That is interesting because that brings also Michael Dopak with him. Side by side still for Gradwell and Sanchez. Tom Gradwell decides better of it, though he's not battling with them as he still has to make his pit stop. But Michael Dopak now very much on the rear of 2nd place driver David Garrido Sanchez.
Yep, I wonder if Michael will try and get by as quickly as possible if he can stick with him. But I think if I was Michael, I would just stay. I know it's easy enough to say, but I would maybe just stay behind him and just settle in, stay in the position that he's in at the moment, because Dopak is having the best race of his season so far.
Still waiting on 4 drivers to visit their pit crew. Paul Jackson in 15th place, Kellen Rhodes 11th, Tom Bradwell in 6th place that we were just talking about, and Emil Orsa leading your race right now in 1st place as he decides to drive by the pit lane one more time, so he will get credited with a lead lap in this race.
Emil has been doing a good job at saving fuel. He's managed to stretch out by, I'm trying to think, I can't remember, but he's managed to stretch out by maybe two extra laps, I think, if my maths is correct.
Obviously, he's not expected to stay ahead of David Gaspers. I think he will cycle back somewhere into the back end of the top 10, maybe back to Fred Desai in 13th place. We'll have to keep a look on that as Tom Bradwell decides to go into the pit lane. From 8th place, he goes down there as he is very nicely in the pit stall. Also, Kellen Rhodes decides to pit in as with Paul Jackson. So the only car that we're still waiting on to visit their pit stall is Emil Orsa in 1st place. And it comes to me here that Steven Elson had some issues going through turn 2. We are actually looking at the replay of that, and sure enough, that's not exactly how you take turn 2 there. Steven has to practice a little bit more on that style points on the G-turn.
That's an easy mistake to make there. I've done it myself many times around here. Not in the Spec Racer Ford, but the Skip Barber, and it's well, not the Skip Barber. I think it was the Mazda MX-5, and it's easy enough to lose it there just because of how quick you're going into the corner as Emil Orsa dives into the pits.
With that, you will most definitely retire the lead over to David Gaspers yet again, who is now making his way through the penultimate corner of lap number 17. We are about 9 minutes away from the checkered flag, so I'm expecting about 5 more laps for these guys.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Should be right.
Yes, I'm just checking my live timing right now. Yeah, 5 laps. You're correct. It's 5 laps remaining. So I'm just watching Orsa as well. Orsa should come back out round about maybe P7 or P8, P9 roundabout. So just watching him now. That was a good pit stop by him, and yeah, you'll come out with a clear track behind him.
Yeah, Steven Elson not able to get up to him, and he wasn't able to catch Maurizio Naselli. So with that, Emil Orsa will be sitting in 7th place. Going up to the battle for 3rd place to David Garrido Sanchez, Michael Dobek, and Miroslav Juracek. Fighting for 2nd place, obviously. Have 3rd place in because Emil Orsa did cross the start-finish line ahead of them. Question is, David Garrido Sanchez, we haven't seen him very often in the position of being pressured by 2 guys for a podium position. Do you think that David is able to withstand that pressure?
I'm not sure. He seems to be doing okay at the moment, but whether he can keep Michael and Miroslav behind him is a different matter. But he's a decent driver, David, but he's not one that we normally see up at the front that much. He's more, I would say, more of a midfield driver. So, but he's having a good race so far. But whether he can stay in P3 at the moment with Dobek and Miroslav behind him, that remains to be seen.
The bigger thing really is Michael Dobek. We have also not seen him, I think, like ever in a position where he is fighting for a 2nd place in the race, while also being the faster car than the guy ahead of him. So will be interesting to see what Michael Dobek can do with this position he has right now. It's a very comfortable position, obviously, but you still have to manage that pace and have to manage to overtake the guy ahead of you.
Indeed, there's nothing. I don't think there's anything else going on through the pack. I'm just having a look to see the Spec 2 class. It's still McLeod leading from Bureau and up into up into third place in the Spec 2 class now is Pascal Montmorency.
As McLeod is off, Larry McLeod is off in turn 3 and 3A. Just a little bit of a sideways moment, goes to go into the grass. Didn't hit anything, so yeah, good story for him. He didn't even lose a position, just a little bit of time lost. He is still about 3.5 seconds ahead of 10th place driver Tim van Doornemagen.
Still up at the front, it's David Gasper's leading by about 8.7 seconds at the moment. So yeah, again, David Gasper's putting on a dominant performance at the moment, and proving why he's in my opinion the master of the Spec Racer Ford, or at least the Weekend Warriors League.
And also, good news for him, there won't be any lap cars to question about, because the next one is Don Fitter, and he's already down into turn 5. As I also heard there was a problem for Sonoma, but I didn't hear the name who that was. That was Dominic Bureau. We're going on to the replay for that. That was in the hairpin. Did he have help there by the car behind? Nope, that was Samuel Dick just going by on the inside.
Yeah, I was like, Bureau just got in the power, or just got in the power too much, or used too much power, I should say, and just spun it round. But he's still managing to keep going, and he's still in that second position in the Spec 2 class.
Yeah, just using the Thunderfoot there a little bit too much. As up at the top, I think this will be the battle that we're going to be focusing on, mostly David Garrido Sanchez defending his second place from Michael Dobek and Miroslav Jurček. Jurček being a little bit of a wild card here in this battle. Obviously, he's not really able, or not really wanting right now, to attack Dobek for that third place, but he also isn't really dropping away from them, so seems like Jurček is most definitely managing his pace right now.
Indeed, and it looks like Sanchez is managing to slowly pull away from these two guys behind, so it could be a battle for the final step on the podium. But I think Miroslav might be just sitting back a little bit as Mr. Sanchez clips one of the cones on the entry to the final corner. But I think Miroslav might just be playing a waiting game.
Yeah, good thing we did deal out some crash helmets for these cones at the pit entrance, because most definitely they are getting abused a little bit here by the Spec Racer Ford drivers. A little bit wide there for the turn 2 apex. Michael Dobek losing ever so slightly out to Sanchez, but he was able to keep up the momentum, which is so much more important in this car than actually hitting your apexes. As Jurček going too deep into turn 4, and loses out quite a bit there to Michael Dobek.
It looks like Miroslav might have just got caught out under brake, and they maybe outbraked himself, and he had to run wide, otherwise he would have hit the back of Dobek. But Dobek's with that, it's allowed Dobek to build up just a little bit of a gap behind him.
Interestingly, PJ Gowdy and Brad Speidel both have decided to be in pit lane, but Brad Speidel, I think he actually had some troubles, because he is now in pit lane for a full minute, and sure enough, he actually had some troubles in turn 4. Nothing really need to show, just went too wide and lost it because of that.
Indeed, there's... Oops, sorry, Steph.
Yeah, just wanted to say, decided to park because of that. So, yeah, we only have 28 drivers remaining in this race.
I was about to bring me on to my next point as well. Yeah, 28 drivers still going on around Sonoma. That's still a good thing, or still a good effort from all the drivers to keep the 28 drivers to keep going. Sonoma is one of those tracks. If you make a mistake, you can possibly end your race, and it looks like some of the drivers that have retired have fallen into that trap.
David Garrido Sanchez still defending his second place. Miroslav Jurček most definitely has dropped off for now for that second place battle. But David Gaspers, he's already on his penultimate lap going through turn number 6 right now. Very much a clean race from him, start to finish. He led it all the way, except for going to pit lane where he had to retire the lead to Emil Orsa for 3 laps. David Gaspers, very dominant performance yet again by him, as we're pretty much accustomed here on the Global Sim Racing channel.
As the battle for P2 is still going on at the moment between Sanchez and Dobek. Jurček's dropped off behind both these guys, so the battle for the final podium position is between Dobek and Sanchez.
The David Rowe could be also the David 1-2 here at Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California, virtual Sonoma, California. If you're joining us just now, we're heading into the final lap of this weekend warrior race, as David Gaspers has just now taken the white flag going into turn 1, and behind him it's still a very hot fight for that second place position between David Garrido Sanchez and Michael Dobek. Michael Dobek starting in 7th position, gaining himself 4 to get up to that 3rd, looking at making that 5 to get up to 2nd place.
As further back in the pack as well, it's still McLeod leading the Spec 2 class, so it looks like he'll have that win in the bag if he makes it to the finish. But yeah, I think the closest battle at the moment is this battle for 2nd place between Sanchez and Dobek, but Miroslav is he's slowly closing up to these guys, but he's running out of time.
Closing, but not closing fast enough. Michael Dobek, though, he is very close to the back of David Garrido Sanchez, maybe able to get something good here out of the carousel. Tries to do it, but doesn't really get a good run on to this short little straight up to the hairpin, which is your main passing opportunity coming into this lap. David Garrido Sanchez going a little bit deep, missing the second apex. Michael Dobek, because of that, closing in once again, now going through the SS for the very last time. David Gaspers, though, already going through turn 10, manages that right-hander very much quite easily, now going past the pit entrance to head into the penultimate corner of this race. David Gaspers, with that, will be your winner of the Weekend Warriors here on the Global Sim Racing channel for round 7 of said Weekend Warriors. And behind, though, David Garrido Sanchez will take away 2nd place ahead of Michael Dobek. Miroslav Jurček to take 4th place, and Michael Shaw a very great 5th place for the number 55 machine.
As Emil Orza just spun heading down to the final corner, and he's just pulled back out in front of Stevie Nelson, and he's managed to hold on to P7 as they come up to the line.
P7 for Emil Orsa, as I said. Stephen Nelson, 8th place for him. Larry McLeod, your 1st place Spec 2 class driver, will take home a very respectable 9th place, only losing 1 position from qualifying. Tim van Dornemalen will be finishing in 10th place. Francis I, 11th place. Samuel Dick, 12th place. Let's see if we have any battles here. We have one for 15th place. Pascal Montmorency versus Jeremy Greevy, with Jeremy Greevy not able to take home a 15th place. He has to settle for a 16th place. As the last few cars are trickling over the start-finish line, GSRC will take a few moments to take a breather, but we will be quickly back for the post-race show, where we will run you down the unofficial finishing order, talk to some of the drivers in close-off, and eventful race. So don't step away too far, as GSRC will be back after these messages. we welcome you all back to the post-race show streaming to your home on the global sim racing channel via the iRacing eSports Network. Now, as always, first on the agenda is the unofficial finishing order. Once again, being led by David Gaspers must feel very nicely coming back to the winning circle after being crashed out at the Charlotte Roval. David Garrido Sanchez, 1-2 David for them. He finishes in second place, David Garrido Sanchez, that is. Michael Dobeck, third place for him, a very respectable third place for him, gaining 4 positions from his 7th place on the starting grid. Miroslav Juricek, fourth place for him. Not what he probably expected after starting in 3rd. Michael Shaw, 5th place for him. Maurizio Naselli, after a very bad pit stop, he had to bury all his hopes and dreams for a podium finish. Emil Orsa, 7th place for him, with Stephen Elson in 8th place. For Larry McLeod, your first place driver in the Spec 2 class, in 9th place, and Tim van Dunnemalen will be running out to top 10.
Finishing in 11th was Fred Desai. Finishing in 12th was Samuel Dick. 13th place and second in the Spec 2 class. 13th place and second in the Spec 2 class was Dominic Bureau. 14th was Jeff Jefferson. 15th was Pascal Montmorency. 16th was Jerry McReevy. 17th Brian Short. 18th was Bob Kerr. 19th was Benjamin Soko. And rounding out the top 20 was Tom Gradwell.
21st goes to Edward Doherty, not really where he expected himself to finish after 14th place qualifying. Jim McGill in 22nd, Stevie Ray at 23rd position for him, running into some troubles. He lost 10 positions overall. Kellen Rhodes, 10 places gained for him from 34th to 24th. J. William Smith finishes in 25th with Donald Fitzer in 26th. And Paul Jackson rounds out your finisher on the lead lap. While the last few cars are cycling through your screens, we're going to talk to today's winner. It's David Gaspers yet again. David, after ending your 23 race streak of finishing inside the top 3 with a very interesting rank at Charlotte, must feel very good to finally be atop the spots once again.
I don't know if I would call it finally after one race, but yeah, it's always nice to win.
You have to hype it up a little bit. David, it looked like quite an easy race for you from the outside, running away quite early from Garrido Sanchez there, and then never really being challenged ever again after that.
Yeah, at the start of the race, I was struggling a little bit because I don't think I had enough practice. But once I got used to the temperatures, it was, and once I was out of the draft, I don't think he could really follow anymore.
Well, the last race in January was, I would say, a quite fittingly one for the Spec race of Fords. Looking up to the next few races, what are you expecting from yourself and the rest of the field?
What track do we have next?
It is going to be Sebring Club, actually.
I like that one. Yeah, that should be fun.
Oh, well, David, Cho wants me to ask you a question in German, but I'm not gonna do that for our viewers here today. Maybe next race, if you promise you're gonna win it.
I'll try.
All right, that is word. So, if we have David Gaspers winning the next race, I will come in if I don't commentate on it and ask David Gaspers his winning interview in German. David, thank you very much for talking to us, and good luck in Sebring.
Yeah, I'll see you next time, Ben.
That was David Gaspers, your first place finisher here today. Next up, it's Ryan Walker talking to Michael Dobeck.
Finishing on the podium, and I'm not sure if he expected to be there himself, but considering that he's in the midfield most of the time. But yeah, Michael, what was a great result for you, finishing in P3 on the podium. Did you expect that yourself?
As you already guessed, not really. Yeah, actually, I was quite fast on this track from the beginning. I didn't know it at all, but the first tests worked out well, so I was quite confident to have a good result, but never expected podium.
Yeah, I mean, we were watching you, and myself anyway. I was kind of shocked when I seen you up there challenging at the front in the early stages of the race. What was the plan in the early stages of the race? Was it just keep out of trouble and just get to the pit stops, and then after the pit stop, if you were in a good position, try and challenge for a podium, or was it just finish the race and just whatever happened, or just finish and pick up the points?
Yeah, first goal was finishing, of course. I had some moments in the official races this week, so I concentrated on that. And yeah, as you said, trying to keep up to whomever I got attached to and make it to the pit stops and see what comes next.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me anyway. You were the yeah driver of the race. For me, it was good to in the last couple of races. You seem to have improved a lot or big time. Is there any reason for that, or is it just kind of saying to yourself, don't try and push too hard if someone's quicker than you, or just is it just down to practice?
Maybe it's a bit down to practice, but actually I pushed it as hard as I could today for the whole race. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had a chance to stay up with guys like Miroslav and David Garrido Sanchez. So yeah, actually, I didn't have any plan except staying there and not winning this car.
Good stuff. Well, yeah. Before we let you go, are you planning to race at Sebring next week? I think it's is it the club layout, I believe.
Yeah, it will be the club layout. I'm not exactly sure if I can make it because I will be off for skiing next weekend. But if so, I will hope I can transport the momentum from this week because I don't know this track at all, just like this one.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Michael, and again, congratulations on your podium position.
Thank you, and thanks for the broadcast. It's always really fun to watch it. So big shout out to you. Thanks to SimStickers for sponsoring all this stuff. Yeah, and of course, big shout out to Stevie for running this whole series, and to the whole SRF community for just being a cool bunch of blokes to race with.
Thanks, Michael. And if we don't see you on chat next week, enjoy your skiing holiday.
That's for sure. I will. Thanks.
Good stuff. As that was Michael Dolbeck joining us in the booth, finishing on the podium in third position, and I believe we're going to have the second place finisher in the Spec 2 class joining us as Dominic Bureau. Good evening, Dominic.
Hey, hello guys.
I have to say that was a good result for you overall, and in the Spec 2 class, finishing in second position, I believe. How was the race from your view?
Actually, I wasn't even thinking about doing the race today. I've been still sick this week. I raced this place only once a while ago, and no practice, no nothing all week long. And I thought today of just skipping the race or maybe doing the race and starting from the pits or something. Turns out it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, I mean, I was watching you a few times during the race, and it looked like you were in a bit of for most of the race, you were in a bit of a no man's land. What was the aim for the race? Was it just finish and pick up the points to help in the Spec 2 championship?
Yeah, it's another one of those races that I had some fun with. I was around Bob Kern and Fred Desai and I don't remember who else for a while. And then they just ran away and I was all on my own. So I just did as I do all the time and just tried to keep it on the track and four wheels on the track and try to gain some position because of the mishaps of other people going off track and crashing their cars. And then I saw the position was I was gaining and gaining, and figured, well, I might be able to rack in some points. I never thought I would do second place though, but hey, I'll take it.
I mean, there's been a few times I've watched you this season so far, from racing in the series and also commentating on the series. You seem to have improved a lot this season. Is it just down to practice, or is it just do you go into a race or into each race with a plan of just telling yourself just finish the races and pick up the points and don't worry about trying to win every race in the Spec 2 class, or just trying to get a good result every race, or how do you go about it?
I think it's a bit about of trying to just a little bit of the endurance mindset, like just try to keep it on the track, whatever lap time, just trying to keep it clean, and basically also just trying to calm down. I used to be really, really stressed out every races, and I mean, the more you practice, the more you know the people, the more you know the guys from the SRF gang. I mean, it starts to be more and more enjoyable, less stressful, at least for me. Which means I do less errors. I keep it. It makes cleaner races. I mean, it's pretty much all that, because if you go like a year back, I would just screw up my braking points because I would just be so stressed out and do just really stupid errors. Which now I just move over. You're faster than me. That's fine. I'll just maybe pick you back up in some other corner, and that's just it.
Good stuff. Before we let you go, are you looking forward to Sebring next week? And if you, or are you planning to race Sebring next week? And if you are you looking forward to it?
Well, I'll probably race it unless something else comes up in real life. It's not really my favorite track. Don't really like anything that's on like an airfield tarmac, flat tracks. But I know the place, so it's going to be, I don't want to say easy, but I don't need to overly practice to be able to run it. So I'll probably be there, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thanks for joining us, Dominic, and again, congratulations on your second place finish in the Spec 2 class. Yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on track next week.
Hey, thank you guys. Have a good day.
As that was Dominic Bureau joining us in the booth, and yeah, I have to say, Steph, that was an absolutely fantastic race.
Yeah, most definitely there, Ryan. As always, be with Dominic Bureau. But now GSRC, as always, would like to thank once again the iRacing Esports Network for having us on their talent lineup to bring you the greatest shows on iRacing into your home. Make sure to like and subscribe to their channel if you haven't done so yet. On top of that, we'd like to thank everyone on the track today for a great show, and especially Stevie Ray for organizing this league and contracting with GSRC to broadcast it. Right now on your screen you can see all of the companies that provide us with their great hard and software GSRC uses to deliver you the best possible show. Additional thanks goes to Chunadon to provide us with her great masterpieces. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, please visit us at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also find us on the social media platforms, Twitter with GSR channel, Facebook at facebook.com/globalsimracingchannel, or on Instagram at GSRC_RAM. All of the upcoming races for our other series are now sliding across your screen, so check them out and mark them down on your calendar to not miss another second of exciting racing action. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, Joe, Ryan and Dougie, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in as David Gaspers took away the victory at Sonoma. With that said, until next time, servus and sayonara, and as always, race hard, race clean, and we'll see you on the track.